Hello, everybody. We are a few minutes early, and I'm hoping that you can hear me. You are just seeing the graphic of the webinar announcement, so don't be scared. That's all you have to see right now. You're not seeing anything else. I just want to make sure that you can hear me. Hi, Karen. I'm so glad you can hear me. And where are you from, Karen? And do you see the screen, Karen? That is just a graphics stating Airbnb hosting proposal. Hi, from Florida. Yeah, Peter. Peter, is this you from London? With the right time? Well, when I had you have the amazing. Okay, great. I'm so happy that you guys can hear me. We're about 2 minutes away from starting, and yes, we will start on time. You don't have a mic. Oh, it's okay. Hello from San Clemente. Hi, Christy from San Clemente. And hosts are coming in. We already have like 13 people coming in, and I believe my dearest Elle is already here. Hi, Donna from the Netherlands. Oh, so you are Canadian and Katie from Portland. Hi, Daniel Provencal, Christy from San Clemente. And so we are gathered here today. And one more time, I always like to thank you as a community for spending some time with me and my folks that decide to share their knowledge. Sue from Woodstock, Illinois, not Woodstock, New York. All right, to make sure that she clarified that. And we're about to start in just a few more minutes. And do you have any rituals that you do whenever you have a guest arriving? Because I have rituals when I start a webinar. And you know, it's like I make sure my kitchen is clean behind me so you don't see the mess. But if you get to see the mess that I'm seeing on the other side, it's amazing. Hey, Anne-Marie. Fiona from Australia. Thank you, guys. And Elle is here as well. Yay, I see you, Elle.
Are we officially?
Peter, you see, I didn't want to say that. Peter said at least this webinar is working on like the Airbnb ones. I do try, and believe me, we were up bright and early, Elle and myself, doing a test to make sure that everything worked right. Elle has been a webinar presenter here in the past last year, and I know that a lot of you have seen her amazing webinar about design that we did last year. So we do try to do a test. And one of the beautiful things with this platform is that we cannot hear you, so we don't hear the feedback. Yes. Look, did you guys ever got thank you, Christy. I do try our best to make it as easy as possible. I mean, we do have tech issues. Oh my God, I have somebody at the door. I think just give Elle, talk away over here. Come on and give it a talk, because I have somebody at my door.
Oh, wow. What a morning. Let's see. That's a non-technical issue. I like that. Oh, let's see. Oh, DC. Great. Hi, Elizabeth.
I'm glad.
In DC. Peter says it's not an early guest, is it? We'll see.
Okay. So
You're still. Peter said it isn't an early guest, is it?
Well, yes, actually it is. It was my guest, and they wanted to check for the lockbox is, and I could see them walking down the steps, and I already had a guest come in really early and drop off her bags. But they are some recurring guests, so I do love them, and I allow them to misbehave, but you know, they just dropped off bags and left. And my current guest is about to leave in a few minutes. She was doing the Airbnb race here in Brooklyn.
Oh.
I know, right? You should see her. Oh my gosh, she's so fit. Like she's like tiny, tiny, tiny person. And she's so fit, and she did the Airbnb marathon on Sunday, and then she came here. So it was great. Pablo, muchas gracias. From España. Oh, I almost went there. All right, so it's 11:02, and we will start. And let me just stop sharing the screen so you can see Elle and myself.
Hello. Ooh, looking good, Mama.
I try my best for you.
I love that.
So one more time, this is the usual disclaimer. This is not an Airbnb sponsored event. They do know about us, but they are not involved in this webinar. All the words that we say are our opinions. It's not Airbnb's opinions or anything like that. Okay, so just to give you that heads up. And let me just introduce Elle. Elle was with me last year on an interior design for your Airbnb, and it was an amazing video, and I hope you had a chance to view it. And if you did not, please go to the link not now and view it. So Elle is a business owner, a life coach, and decorator, and she loves hosting her Airbnb guests in Manhattan and Connecticut. Elle has been hosting a little bit of almost 4 years, right, Elle?
Yeah, I think it might be past 4 years now. I think we're going on close to 5. How long have you been hosting? I was wondering about that.
I'm about to make 6 years in May.
So I'm at 5, because you always have me beat by a full year. So
yes. So she's also has a decade in visual branding, flagships with like Pottery Barn and Anthropology. And now she partners with clients to create a beautiful functional home solutions and personal action plans. Elle was also a host educator at the 2014 first Airbnb conference and at the 2015 Airbnb conference. And I had the privilege to listen to her class, and it was really, really amazing. And as I mentioned in the newsletter, it stayed with me during the Paris attacks, her conversation and what she spoke about, because as hosts, we have to remember that we do have to take care of ourselves and our needs. And sometimes we forget, and we're like, oh, the guest comes first, or, that review or that, super host batch comes first. And we do need to take care of ourselves. So without much waiting, it's 11:05, and the room is filling up still. We have 33 of our 67, so we're almost there. I'm going to give this now to Elle.
Oh, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to be at the last couple opens with you. We got to talk in San Francisco that first time, and then in Paris, it was really an important, special thing for me to have you close. It was really wonderful to have your support and companionship over there. So I'm really excited we're doing this again. I want to confirm you can hear me okay, because I don't have headphones on like you do.
Yes, I can hear you. And I imagine if you guys host, if you can tell us that you can hear Elle as well, please. Just chat it out and tell us that
we don't want to do this whole thing together and then
you cannot hear us. Well, they could hear me before, so for sure they're able to. Oh, it keeps dropping out. The picture and audio keeps dropping. It might be your connection. Peter's saying perfect sound. Yes, sounds fine. Okay, perfect. So, Elle, do you want me to share the screen already?
Sure, that would be great. We're just going to start out with a brief little hosting for the soul visualization. So I would encourage you to relax your shoulders, sit where you're sitting, know that you're sitting there. Bring yourself all to this moment. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. And let's imagine something together. Imagine you're a carpenter. Imagine you're a carpenter building a tree house, and it's the tree house of your dreams. Imagine that you're out in sunny green woods filled with tall trees, all different kinds. You can hear birds chattering. You can smell the soil and the grass on the breeze. Your body is strong, and you have all of your tools and lumber at hand. The temperature is perfect, and you see your tree house starting to take shape as you build walls and put a roof on the top. Now imagine your tree house completely finished. Imagine this beautiful space up in the canopy that you've created. Somehow you've managed to do it in a day. And imagine inside that there's rugs on the floor. Maybe there's a canopy bed that's very beautiful with the white drapes hanging around it. You've created a reading nook in a window filled with comfortable pillows, and you've even set a dinner table with beautiful dishes. Out the windows, you see bright leaves waving outside, all different colors. And you see the rolling hills and a village in the distance. You sit down tired and grateful for this sacred space that you have crafted with your own hands, your own imagination, and you've decorated it with thoughtfulness. Let's open our eyes again and imagine what we would do next. For most of us, we would have the inclination to bring somebody over. We would want to bring someone up that ladder and kind of show off our beautiful, special space that we created. We have this inherent need as humans to bond with other people. And a big part of our hosting life is bringing in that connection and also bringing in a way to be creative, whether that means we like decorating or we just like having conversations with people and sharing ideas. So for many of us, when we bring that someone, whomever it is, up the ladder and we share what we have, we're already living in a state of abundance. We have something to offer. And that's such a blessed place to come from, such a place of service. And as hosts, that's a really powerful thing. We can do that very soulfully, which we're going to talk about today, or we can do it from a place of stress where it kind of gets the better of us. And we're going to talk about that too. So for me, hosting for the soul is doing work that we love in honor of our authentic self. And to me, that means building this beautiful treehouse, this space that we get to share, this lifestyle that we get to share in a way that resonates with who we really are. We're not doing it for someone else and to get the review per se. We're doing it because we're excited to share something that is important to us. So when Evelyn and I were in Paris and I was presenting this on a stage, it was very intimidating, frankly. We had a really nice time getting to meet a lot of different hosts. And I want to be clear about what we're going to cover today because that talk was a little bit longer than today is going to be. We're going to try to keep it manageable. So what we'll talk about today is securing our own oxygen mask and what that looks like, creating clarity about how we want to feel every day. And that's a big point in what we're going to talk about today. We'll come back to it in greater detail, but think about that a little bit as we go. How do you want to feel every day? We're going to align that feeling with our overall lifestyle and then drill that down to how we want it to be represented in our hosting life. And then we're going to have a little Q&A at the end, as long as we have time for that. So as we go, if you have questions or you have comments or you need anything, please put it in the sidebar and we'll do our best to answer that as we go, but the Q&A will technically be at the end. So the next slide, we're going to talk about securing our own oxygen mask. And most of us are pretty aware of this term. Certainly not my term. You know, there's a lot of thought leaders out there that are talking about that as an analogy for life, a metaphor for life. And for those of us who are travelers as well as hosts, we've heard that so many times on planes. Please secure your own oxygen mask before you help others. And I can say that that has been a really useful visual for me for years. And in a nutshell, what that means and what it means in our day-to-day life is that in order to serve or in order to do anything for anyone else, we have to be okay first. We have to be breathing before we can help anyone else breathe. And it seems so common sense, and yet we lose track of that often. And in my personal experience as a host, I've lost track of that many times in the past. And so I'll share with you a little bit today about how I created more clarity around what my oxygen mask is and how I aligned that with my whole life and then specifically with hosting. So we'll start on the next slide talking just briefly about securing your own oxygen mask as an act of service. And that goes back to what I was saying about we can't help others until we help ourselves. And it doesn't have to be some big orchestration, but we can definitely make changes by looking honestly at how we're living and making sure that we're answering our own needs. And so one thing that, what I asked when we were in Paris was, has anyone actually seen that oxygen mask come down when they're on a plane? And if this has happened to you, please put it in the sidebar. I'm hoping it has not happened for you. But in this entire room of people asking that, I don't think anyone raised their hand that that had ever happened. But in our day-to-day lives, when we're not on an airplane, that oxygen mask seems to be falling down all the time, or at least it is for me, where I'm thinking, oh man, I'm late to get to my apartment to check in a guest, or the person I thought was going to clean isn't able to do it. Or on a grander scale, this year I'm pregnant. And that's a whole new thing where oxygen masks seem to be coming down once in a while, where I think, oh man, I don't know how to do this. So when we're talking about what do we need in a given moment, and that being an act of service, we start with that act of service for ourselves. And sometimes as a pregnant lady, that means I need a sandwich, and we all do sometimes. And sometimes it means that we need to take 5 minutes and go sit by ourselves and regroup a little bit, to take a deep breath and to come back to the world and be able to be our best selves again. Chip Conley, who is also a guest here with Evelyn at Airbnb, often refers to Maslow's hierarchy. And a lot of us know that that base of the pyramid is food, water, shelter kind of things, where we build our life as animals, really being in survival mode first, making sure that we can survive. And then we climb that pyramid towards self-actualization, which is sort of the guru on the mountaintop idea, where we're able to see that we've become what we wanted, that we experience everything that we want to, and we're in a really good place all the time. And that's a pretty lofty goal. Most of us are somewhere in between that. So we'll go to the next slide, and I'll share a little bit about how I'm climbing that pyramid with my oxygen mask. So I'll briefly say that, as I mentioned earlier, I've been hosting for about 5 years. I started in Manhattan. I now live in Connecticut, but I keep my apartment in the city. And when I started hosting, I did it out of complete necessity. There's a lot of us out there who have had to do this because we've needed to survive financially in some way. And I had this beautiful apartment, I still do, very small but cute, and I wanted to keep it. And I wasn't sure how I was going to do that. I was very new to the city and had taken on quite a financial responsibility that I'd never had as an adult before. And a friend mentioned Airbnb, and I signed up for that to see what this adventure would be like. And the long and short of it is that I became a really good host. I felt like I understood the parameters and how to communicate and how to get people in the door to pay me for my space. But in the process of that, I didn't have anyone telling me not to overdo it, or how to not give too much of myself, or teaching me how to have balance. And so I was getting displaced from my own apartment a lot and staying on friends' couches or with the boyfriend I eventually made. And it really wasn't a good fit for me because I wasn't taking care of myself. And so I started cutting corners. And as a host, we know that catches up with us eventually. You know, we'll start running out of toilet paper. I was definitely not communicating as frequently with my guests as I probably should have been before they arrived. And I wasn't taking enough time to vet my guests before they signed up to stay with me. So I wasn't really sure who was going to be in my place. I didn't know them very well. And so it became a little bit of a strain on me. And I didn't do anything about it for quite a while. I just kept going forward and chugging through and not securing my oxygen mask. And what that eventually led to, in a brief story is that several years ago, I left the city for Thanksgiving to spend time with friends and family. And Evelyn's heard this story. And, Thanksgiving in the United States is so fun. It's such a food-oriented family, maybe play some games kind of holiday. And so I'd been looking forward to that. And ladies came to stay at my apartment, a mother and daughter. And they got there a couple days before. So I had already left the city. And I think I had a friend or a neighbor check them in, so to speak. And I hadn't communicated with them very much beforehand, but they seemed like a nice little pair. Who would ever fault a mother and daughter, right? And the phone call I got on Thanksgiving was that there was a gas leak in my apartment. The mother called me. And I thought, well, this is very strange. I have a tiny gas stove. The heating system is not gas in the building. I can't imagine that that's what's happening. And it put me in, like so many of us as hosts have been, in a difficult situation. I had to make a decision. And of course, I was going to go and see what was going on and take care of my guests. But that meant I needed to leave my family and my friends. And I didn't get to celebrate the holiday. And it was really an unfortunate situation that, in retrospect, I had created for myself. Because when I got to the apartment, there was no gas leak. The daughter was a little bit sheepish about the situation, and the mother was very combative. And it turned out that the mother was looking for a free trip to New York City, and they had paid a lot of money to reserve my space for, I think, 10 days. And so Airbnb backed me up because I am a good host and I do have a good record, and I did then too. But it was so disheartening to me to have lost that time with family and friends. And I feel that the reason that happened was because I was losing out on communication that I should have been having before they ever arrived, before they even booked my apartment. If I would have communicated better with this mother, I think I would have seen some red flags that she was looking for a different kind of deal. And I also didn't meet them in person myself, which I think would have conveyed to them that I'm no nonsense and I expect you to respect my space and I'm going to take good care of you. So one of the things that then led me to make change was this awakening weekend where I just had my whole little private life in upheaval. And I said, I just won't have any more of that. There has to be a better way to host and to enjoy this. So we'll go to the next slide. And hosting can evolve. So I can say this firsthand, that it is so much easier to host from a place of comfort and self-knowledge and assurance when we have people helping us, when we've communicated well with our potential guests, and when we have enough resources at hand for when the oxygen mask falls and we're not sure what to do next. So for me, that was a change in behavior in my lifestyle. I got myself a life coach, which I am now myself, and that wasn't something that I was planning on doing. It always kind of makes me laugh that Airbnb has gifted me a new lifestyle and a new job. I wanted to become debt-free because I knew some of the issue with me having Airbnb burnout on the cusp was that I was feeling I was in scarcity financially all the time, and I was always trying to be okay, and that needed to stop. I needed to get a handle on that. I reached out to the Airbnb community in New York. Some of you who are hopefully from the city, we've probably crossed paths at some point over the years, and it is how I met Evelyn. And so that was really a wonderful boost to me. I had been part of it, but then I became more active and I felt like I had more support. I started learning more and reading more and gathering mentors around me because that's good for our soul. And for me, that was particularly helpful because it started showing me, oh, I can do everything. I just have to do it a little differently than I've been trying to do it. And then sometimes I blocked my calendar. I don't know if any of you out there do that, but it is a wonderful feeling once in a while to say, this is my place, or this is my weekend, or whatever, and I'm not going to have any other responsibilities. And then I chose to work with a coach who talked to me about how do I want to feel every day. And that's something that we'll talk about in a minute. But we reframed how I was looking at hosting. And instead of looking at it as a job, I started looking at it as a joy, as a privilege, as a place where I could serve from, but because I wanted to. And what ended up happening, that evolution that we can all have as hosts, it's more fun for me now to communicate with emails and find out more about my guests. Some of us out there are sort of anthropological by nature, and we're really curious about what these people are. Others of us are doing it because we love to decorate and offer a comfortable space. Whatever it is that makes hosting fun for us, we need to really be aware of it and keep at it. So I bought some better furniture. That was a financial limb for me to go out on, but I took out a small loan from a friend and I got better furniture so I could create better photos and offer guests a higher level of stay. And that was a really good decision. We can talk about that another time. And I do think I mentioned that in the design webinar we did. And then I started sourcing people in my neighborhood, friends and neighbors who could be a support network for me if I were out of town, if I wasn't able to get some, guests checked in at a strange time or whatever. And I realized I had been trying to do a lot of that by myself, and that just doesn't work. Maybe for some of you super hosts out there, it does. For me, it lent a lot of stress to my life trying to do it all. And then one of the last things that I like mentioning in this evolution is gratitude, that we're okay all the time. Even when we think we're not, our minds are going crazy about something, we're okay. We're not starving. We have fresh water, the basics that I was talking about earlier. And when I can get quiet and just have gratitude for everything being okay, I can take one more step. I can secure my mask and have a deep breath. Then I can really lean into being a good host again. And so whenever I go into my apartment, I feel that gratitude for still having this place that I love so much, being able to afford it after all these years, and having the opportunity to decorate it and then share it with people who really appreciate it. It's just such a wonderful thing to be a host when we can look at it that way. So we'll go on to the next slide and talk about securing your oxygen mask after I've shared a bit about myself. We're here for you today, and my hope is that you come away feeling empowered and really proud of the hosting that you're doing, and that if there's any questions that either Evelyn or I can answer about what this looks like to be an elevated host, to be a soulful host, I'm really excited for us to help with that. So one of the ways that when I'm working with clients, and this is non-host clients usually, we talk about what do you want more of in your life, or the reporter questions, really, the who, what, when, where, how, and whys that a lot of us don't ask ourselves that often. And even though we're probably our own favorite topic, people are probably not asking us these questions very often. So you might want to write a couple of these down. One of them is, who do you want to spend time with? And this is just your overall life. We're not even talking about hosting specifically yet. We'll come to that next. But if you were to look out into your wide, beautiful life, who do you want to share that with? Do you have a boyfriend? Do you need one? Do you have a great partner in business? Are you getting enough time with your family? Maybe you haven't even met the people you want to spend time with, and you just need more fun people around you. What are your favorite creature comforts? And creature comforts to me is anything material or anything that lends itself to a given feeling. So my examples are, I really love a bed that has a number of layers of really clean, comfortable sheets and comforters and too many pillows and all of that. I love a good hot cup of coffee. I like being able to have natural light in any given room or space that I'm staying, if I'm staying in an Airbnb myself. All of those little details that go into our day-to-day experience, let's ask ourselves about that. Let's find out what it is that we really like to touch and feel and be around, and let's go get more of it. Let's make that happen more frequently. How do you recharge? I love this question because it's not something that we always think about. We think we know until maybe we have to answer the question specifically. For some of us who are more introverted, I really like to recharge on my own. I like to have a very quiet room. I don't need music playing. I might have a book. I might watch something on the computer or read an article, but I need to spend that time just uninterrupted. And for other people, some of you out there are party animals, and you probably love to go out and, get dressed up or be part of a big conversation, and that recharges you. So, however it is that we do that, let's be sure we know what it is, and let's be sure we're doing it before we really need to, before our battery goes dead, right? And then, what do you want more of? And this is such a big question. Most of us will think money probably first, or time, because those are the big ones. And let's try to be more specific. So are we looking for money because we want to travel more, because we want to shop more? That's just really fun, and we like to give gifts to people. Maybe we want more financial security just to get the stress off our shoulders so that we can feel more spacious in our own lives. Something else we might want more of is, cake or sweets. Maybe we feel like we're entitled to have some really quality food around us, and we're not doing that because we're hustling all the time. So those are a few questions for knowing yourself and finding those masks around you to pull toward you and get a deep breath. We'll go on to the next slide. And this is my favorite question. This is certainly not my own question per se. There's a lot of thought leaders, or at least a good handful of thought leaders out there, who are asking this question in different ways. So how do you want to feel every day? How often do we ask ourselves that? There's probably a handful of you out there who have really thought about this question and maybe done some journaling or done even a course on self-actualization, or how do you want to feel every day, or desire mapping. And I love this question because we don't have to do a ton of work to figure this out. We don't have to journal for days or get to a quiet mountaintop or anything like that. We inherently know how we want to feel every day, and we know if we're not feeling it. So I'm going to just ask that we take 1 minute. I'll keep the time. And whether you take notes on your computer or in an app or on good old paper, if you could just free write for a minute, and we did this in Paris as well, and it was very fruitful. You might end up with 2 words. You might end up with 25. Kathy says she loves the Desire Map book. I do too. I think that it's a really wonderful concept. And one of the words that for me, and I talked about this in Paris, was peace that kept coming up for me. And I used that word as a guidepost for myself for an entire year. And it was a profound change in my life. It really does give us the chance to create an internal compass. And we'll talk about that in a minute too. So let's just set a timer. It looks like it's 11:30. We'll just go for 1 minute and free write how you want to feel every day. It can be 1 word or 5 in a row, or however you want to do it. And then if you feel called to share it with us in the sidebar after our minute is up, I'd love to hear a couple examples of how you want to feel every day. Okay, our minute is up and we'll keep moving, but I encourage you to keep this inner dialogue going, or inner monologue, depending, and keep writing, keep a little list. And the ultimate goal is to land on one word or one very short phrase. Sue has put in the sidebar free, which I love. I love how simple it is. It's a beautiful 4-letter word, and it creates so much spaciousness as soon as you hear it. Free, thinking of free time and autonomy and being able to do whatever you wish, is really powerful. Peter says, I think we are all different, but I want to feel excited and energetic with a spark of curiosity. That's lovely. Thank you for sharing that, Peter. I think the idea of being enlivened or feeling excited is such a gift to ourselves. And I don't know how many of us really think about that on a given day. And also being curious, which resonates with me because this year's word for me is discovery. Christy says, healthy, vibrant, mercy and compassion working into gratitude and joy. Wow, amazing. Thank you, Christy. Suzanne says, healthy, happy, financially secure. That's a great combination. I agree with that. Kathy says, complete and satisfied. Beautiful. Complete is wonderful. We are inherently whole, and feeling satisfied is simply knowing that. I really love that, Kathy. Donna says, joy, enthusiasm, curiosity, appreciated. Appreciated is such a nice one. As women, I know that we can't really categorize men or women. I don't do that very often, but I've been feeling that too lately, that being appreciated would be pretty nice. Oh, Sue says peacemaker. Very nice. That's one I haven't heard before. I like that. It puts maybe a little pressure on you. I don't know, Sue. But I like peacemaker as the world we live in, and even down to our little nuclear families and friends and neighborhoods. That's a really special thing. Yeah. Pablo says, do what you can to feel good. You are going to benefit from it, and the ones around you too. I agree. I think that's exactly what we're saying here, is when we secure our oxygen mask, we're shining it out for others, and we're able to deliver on a better quality of life for ourselves and for others. And Susan says, healthy, strong, happy, creative, secure, both emotionally and financially. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing these really beautiful, thoughtful answers. We'll go on to the next slide because I have just a couple, well, I have quite a few questions, but write them down as we go and come back to them if you wish to. I'm hoping that this is the most useful part of the takeaway for you. So daily compass or life compass. So I keep this on my desk. I think you guys can see this. It's supposed to be hanging on the wall, I think, but I keep it.
They don't see it. Hold on one second and let me stop sharing the screen so they can see it.
Okay, here we go. Okay, there we go. So the compass that I keep on my desk, and thank you, Evelyn, we can go back to the slides whenever you want. I keep it there because it reminds me that I'm in control of that compass. Geographically, no, but in my own life, I get to decide which direction I'm facing at any given time, and I get to decide what my true north is. And I was mentioning earlier to Peter's comment that discovery is my word this year. Last year, I believe it was peace, and I chose discovery this year because not only am I becoming a mom for the first time, and there's so much to know and learn, but also because I love to read and I love to find out something that I didn't even know I didn't know. And that's a very special, fun way to look at this whole year for myself. And so when I look at that and think, how am I going to create discovery in my day today? Or how am I going to cultivate that in my whole year? And this is broadly, again, not just regarding hosting. Some of the questions that I encourage myself to ask and others to ask themselves are one of these: how do you want to start your day? And this just seems like a common sense question, right? Like, do we even have a choice how we start our day? We wake up, we open our eyes, we get going on maybe breakfast, or if we have kids, they're running around, we've got to get them to school. But we do actually have a little more control than we probably realize. And some of the ways that I like to look at that is after we've slept a night, we are being reborn into the world. I don't know where we go overnight. Some of us are dreamers, some don't dream at all or can't remember. Who knows what happens when we're really shut off for a while. But I do look at the morning like a rebirth, coming back into the world afresh. And that means for me personally, I want to have natural light coming in the window. I'm going to spend just a couple minutes in bed looking at Instagram because I love it so much, and I love to see what people have created and what's getting them out of bed. And then I'm going to go start my day and really lean into either discovery or peace or whatever other word I might have chosen. Some of us like to go for a run in the park, or we want to take the dog out just for a walk around the block. Some of us have to get to a job immediately and we're always running a little bit late. We get to decide how that feels. And if we're not feeling great with how our mornings are starting, let's take a look at that and let's start making some changes. It is not that difficult to do. Just make a small change and start there. I also ask, what will I add in? Or what will you add in to your experience? So if your compass is pointing at curiosity or it's pointing at financial security, then how are you going to add in more of that feeling? How are you going to cultivate some of that in your day? It might mean, as I've done in the past, that I reach out to a debt consolidator and I grab all those credit cards and whatever student loans I've got, and I say, I need your help. If I'm looking for creativity, maybe I'm going to make a stop at my lunch hour to pick up a pad of paper and some colored pencils, and I'm going to go get creative. Whatever it is a really simple step in the given moment we have. And that can be so powerful. It can be such a quick shift to make. Some of us want to add in more money. Some of us want to add in more fun. We want more friends. That's definitely something that happened when I moved to Connecticut from the city. Many of us who live in a city know that it's pretty easy to step out the door and go to a coffee shop or have dinner with somebody and socialize. But where I live now in Connecticut is kind of country living, and it's much more difficult to meet people here. So for me, that's something that I do want to add in all the time. I'm always looking for friends and companions to have. And then some people are going to look for a new skill, like how am I going to use a new power tool? Maybe I want to try a new craft and I don't have all the resources I need yet. Let me go learn how to do that. Whatever it is you want to add in, it's just not that complicated. We just have to decide that that's what we want to do. Christy says, I love your Instagram pics. Thank you, Christy. I'm really a fan of Instagram. If you guys aren't following me, I'll be happy to follow you back. It's just Elle Callanan at Instagram. Brings me a lot of joy. And the third question under this category of your daily life is, how are you advertising this feeling? And there's a lot of different ways that we advertise what we do, what we love, what we don't like. And that might mean you dress for the job that you want and you let your work environment see that you're ready to climb the ladder and you want to do something different. Maybe it means that you ask more questions. You let the people around you know, I am seeking financial stability. I don't have it, in my opinion. What are you doing? You look pretty secure. If you're looking for more excitement or enthusiasm, maybe you're going to start sharing with people what you really love to do and asking them what they love to do. And can you go along with them? I went bowling with my little brother for the first time in many years when I was visiting recently. And I have to tell you, I am so glad that I said out loud to him, gosh, I wish I was bowling more often. That used to be fun, because it made it happen. And he supported me. He understood that that was something I was advertising that I wanted to feel. And then hold your boundaries. for yourself and for others. When you're advertising how you want to feel, you need to be able to walk that talk. So if you're looking to experience more compassion and you want to offer more compassion, then you need to be talking about it, and you need to be able to give yourself some time to recharge. You need to be kind with others if you possibly can, and you need to inspire people, because that's what they're going to see has shifted in you, and they're going to respond by doing the same and being compassionate back. We'll go to the next slide and talk more specifically about that compass for hosting and how that looks for our day-to-day hosting life when we're aiming for more soulfulness, when we know our authentic self and we want to bring it to bear with our guests and with our spaces. So who do we want to host? We get to decide. It's Airbnb's mantra that we get to decide as hosts how this looks for us and how we want our homes to be shared. And whether you're staying with your guests or you're renting a place or a property that you're not present at, it doesn't matter, because you're still going to come into contact with the people, both by email, potentially afterward if you've made a good friend. And so are you looking for adventuring nomads? Are you looking for the more hippie types or the vagabonds who have these wild stories about where they've slept and how many countries they've gone to? Those are exciting people to spend time with. And for a lot of us, at least myself, I'm not always brave enough to go out into Burma and stay in a yurt. So it's really fun to call in those people and hear their stories. Who else do we want to host? Maybe we're looking for more intellectual conversation in our life. Maybe we're looking to learn something about a given topic, and we'd really love to call in more professors and writers, people who are doing art exhibits in our area and they've come from abroad to do so. Let's call in those people and make sure that we know that's who we want. And possibly some of us, I'm obviously not retired, but I know that a lot of our Airbnb community has had the privilege of having a career, and either they've early retired or are already in retirement, and they're looking to have a little more youthfulness around them and fun and family again, because a lot of these hosts that I've spoken to are kind of empty nesters, or maybe they have an extra bedroom and they just think it'd be so nice to have some companionship or some families come through with kids. And if that's the case for you, make sure that you're as family friendly as possible in your advertising, and be clear about that that's somebody that you want to call in. That's a very special group of people. Another question I would ask is, and we talked about this in the previous segment, how are you advertising that you want to feel a particular way? So in your hosting specifically, have you made your listing pages, your descriptions, your photos clearly convey that you are looking for a certain type of guest, that you're looking for a certain type of experience with whomever that guest is? Maybe you love giving tours of your area. You're really proud of where you live. You have great restaurants around or art galleries, and that's part of what you want as a host, is to experience more of that. Make sure you're letting your guests know, potential guests, before they ever book, that this is something that you're going to offer them. If you're looking for more people who are maybe, kind of quiet on their own, they don't need a lot of hand holding as guests, be clear about that and advertise it as a very self-sufficient space. Everything you need is there. I'm only a phone call away, but you probably won't see me most of your stay. There's nothing wrong with being honest about that and advertising it clearly, because that's exactly who you're going to get. And then the last one in this segment is, what's your personal passion? And this is like my second favorite question in this whole presentation, is what are you excited to do and experience specifically? Do you love to cook? Do you love to bake cookies and leave them for the people who are coming in? Maybe you just really love to spend time showing people a collection that you've curated for years. there could be so many different things that are passionate for us. I know Evelyn likes to create itineraries for her guests that are coming in because her neighborhood is vibrant and there's so much to do. For me, I have a puppy named Olive. She's on Instagram if you want to see her in the mix. And she's a greeter with me many, many times. We have a small place here in Connecticut that we rent out, and then my apartment in New York. And she comes with me to both of those places often. And she's really a passion project for me. She's just hilarious and makes my soul happy. And being able to bring her along really is more soulful hosting for me. So, is there anything that anybody would like to share in the sidebar about a personal passion or something that you're incorporating in your hosting that has felt really good for you? It might be that you bake cookies. It might be that you are knitting, or you have an Etsy shop and you let all of your guests know, hey, I have an Etsy shop. If you ever want to buy anything, I've made really beautiful things, and I'd love for you to do that. If that's the case, I'd love to hear that in the sidebar too. I had thought about doing some Etsy things, but it just didn't get done. So we know how that goes. And then we're going to move on to the last slide. And that's this beautiful image of a ripple effect. And when we were in Paris, it was really an interesting image to have in my mind as so much was going on. We were able to be safe enough and get out of the city. And a lot of people were not feeling safe, and they were also in their home city and not able to leave. And so this image stuck with me because when I got back to the United States, I wondered, what is my ripple effect for being in this beautiful city and having it go so differently than I ever expected it? And what's my responsibility to this worldwide community of people who are just doing their best in their lives? And whether or not we're hosting or we're traveling, we still leave this beautiful ripple effect behind. And I gave that a lot of thought. And one of the things that I landed on is that practicing how you want to feel every day, really leaning into that and doing the work of living that life, walking that talk, is our ripple effect. Marianne Williamson has a beautiful quote that Nelson Mandela is often credited with, but he actually just used it in a speech. And it says, as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And oh man, I just think, what better way is there to say that all we have to do for purpose in our life, our contribution itself, is to be ourselves. And it brings me back to the idea of, what will your guests or your friends and family see you as a host and as a citizen of the world? Will your guests leave your home feeling that people are good? Will they leave seeing that you were happy about your job and that they really wanted to be, they want to go home and do work that they believe in and they love? And maybe what are you teaching your friends and the children in your home, if you have them, that you're willing to share with strangers and you're willing to learn from them? And that's such a powerful lesson to share out. So your choice to secure your mask, to be clear about how you want to feel every day, and to offer that experience through your space and yourself, is offering that ladder to your beautiful, unique treehouse. And that, in fact, is our ripple effect. So thank you so much. That ends my presentation officially. And Evelyn and I are happy to chat with you for a little bit longer. Evelyn, you can keep the time. I'm not sure what time we need to wrap up, but I'm very happy to answer questions or just hear your feedback on how hosting is going for you.
So yeah, thank you, Elle, for that. It's been almost 6 months since our conference in Paris, and this was such a powerful presentation because we forget what it's like to host and how to take care of ourselves as hosts, especially the group that comes in and listens to my webinars. They are experienced hosts. They're hosts that have been doing this for a long, long time. And we forget that we have to take care of ourselves, that we have to create boundaries, that we have to create what kind of life we want to live as hosts, because we share that with our guests and we present that to them. So thank you so much, Elle.
Thank you for letting me share. I'm so happy to spend this time together.
I know, it's always such a pleasure to have you. Sean is asking that if you could see the presentation. Yes, Sean, there will be a replay of the presentation. All my webinars are still up on YouTube and also on my website, so you can still see them. So this will be up, I'm hoping, by Monday. There will be a replay soon, but yes, we will do it. And Sue's asking, amazing talk, helped me focus so much on my life and why I do Airbnb. Yeah, I mean, Elle?
Thank you, Sue. Yeah, it's such a privilege to, individually, any one of us, to look at our life and realize, give ourselves credit that we're already doing something really great. That we do this work, or we offer this joyous work to the world because we really feel like we have something to offer. And that's so enlivening. So many of the words that you put into the sidebar that you want to experience every day, enthusiasm or gratitude or compassion, we're already in that. And it's when we turn around and say, oh, that's right, I'm not aiming for more of that. I have some of that already. Let me just make it bigger. Yeah.
Yes. And Katie's saying, I love Elle's peaceful, nurturing presence. I know, she's amazing.
Thank you.
And believe me, it was great to be part of her tribe in Paris and for us to support each other. And unfortunately, what we just heard, what happened in Brussels, it just brought back so many memories for the both of us of having experienced it firsthand, being so close to what happened in Paris. I was about a 7-minute walk. Elle, you as well were very close to it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was one thing that I've said to you, Evelyn, and I'll share this with the group just briefly, is that so Evelyn didn't know this, but she asked me this after I told her I was pregnant. I had found out just a couple days before the attacks that I was pregnant, and I flew from the United States to France anyway, thinking, wow, this little teeny baby is going to France. And then when things went very sideways and there was so much danger, it felt very militant and just so many things. I don't know how to describe it. I felt very in alignment with source. And I don't use the word God too often. I talk a lot about the universe. I'm not sure what everybody's belief systems are, but I think there's that quote, there's no atheists in a foxhole. And I felt definitely more connected to something bigger than myself in that moment. And I felt really in control that I was going to take care of myself as best I could. And part of that was that word peace kept coming up for me, that I had committed to that earlier in the year. And I was sure as hell going to have it in this moment if I could. And I was going to make sure that we were all okay in the way that I could, contribute to that. And then when I came back, my point is that instead of being so angry and discouraged, which I certainly felt as well, I thought, what can we all do to counteract this? Because I can't fix this for France. I can't fix this for the world. But one of the things I do think we can do is live authentically and be exactly the people we're best built to be. And that shines a light, and that changes our own neighborhood. It changes the people who have come to our country and maybe aren't feeling comfortable. And that's been quite a journey for me this past 6 months. So.
Yes, I mean, and I know that hosting, it's probably going to change a lot now, especially for the European countries and you hosts that are out there. And even us Americans, we're here and everybody has that sense of danger or hesitation. And it's creating that space in your home of safety, and maybe even creating that if something was to happen, what can your guests do? I'm part of a mastermind group, and we were talking this morning, and the in-laws of the one guy in our mastermind group, they were in Brussels. They're actually still there, and they were not anywhere where it happened, but it was like, of course, the daughter and the husband and everybody was so worried about them because they were right in the middle of it, and they didn't even think about like, well, how do we get out of the city now?
Mhm.
Because it's just like this whole thing happened, and you're shaking about. So we have to start thinking about what are we creating in our space, in our world, where it's not based on fear, but
Yeah.
it's also based on being prepared.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of the homes that we offer, the spaces, the rooms, the closets, being a place of comfort and normalcy and predictability. Because even though we love novelty as humans, we also really thrive on consistency, and we need to know that we're safe. We need to know we're safe and we're going to be taking care of whatever we've got around us. So I think that's a great point. We really have a lot of peace to offer just by having a beautiful home and a place that has good answers if anything should happen.
Exactly. So if anybody has any questions, let me give you guys the Els. It's offering her contact information, as well as I have a little bit of an announcement for this month of April in reference of getting your space ready for our spring. What happens is we're in this space and we're like, oh my God, whether you start presenting, you've been hosting for a little bit or you've been hosting for a lot longer than a little bit, like us. Sometimes we just forget that we set up our space in our listing and it's just there. And one of the things I want to offer for this month of April is actually a Clean Your Airbnb challenge. And there will be, so it's all tied up to this conversation of hosting, of setting up your space, of setting up your life for what is to come. It is spring here in New York, and it's Easter this coming weekend, but also it's officially spring. It's March 21st. And it's a 4-week challenge, and I hate the word challenge, but it's more of like supporting each other, where I'm teaching. We're going to talk every week about something different. The first week is going to be photos. The next week is going to be description, your actual physical space, and then your house manual. And it's just going to be weekly webinars. I'm also creating a Facebook group where we all include what we're learning and our challenges, and posting our photos and our listings so that we can have it. So that, and I was with Maria, this amazing host from New Jersey, and she's like, yeah, I know I have some photos on my listing that are obsolete.
Mhm.
And we just forget about them. We forget how, like, oh, we have to update. And is our space presenting that kind of feeling that we just talk about? So what I want us to do for the month of April is up our game and be ready for the busy season. So getting our photos cleaned up, getting our description cleaned up, getting our home cleaned up, and creating that great space so that when May walks around, you know your Airbnb is ready.
I love this. I love this idea. I'm so on board. I'm really glad you're offering this. I totally agree with you that things do get obsolete and we can go back and tighten up our descriptions. You have some wonderful ideas from your presentation at Open about how to make your listing so much better. And I know you've offered that to your followers here too. One of my favorites is that you mentioned taking spaces of your photos and putting in a graphic instead of a photo, and that the graphic would say something about your reviews or some amenity that you might, somebody might miss in your description. I think that's such a great idea.
Thank you so much, love. And yeah, and I'm going to actually show you how to use Canva, which is a great little free program. And so that, for example, I actually have this on my page. I was at work. I was at a job the other day, and there's a few guests, and they didn't know what a super host was. They were like, "What's that little badge next to your name?" and stuff like that. And it was like, what does super host mean if the guests don't know what it means? What good is it for?
Right. It doesn't do anybody any good.
Exactly. And there's so many things like that. So we're going to be talking all about that. If you go to my website, evelynbadia.com, I already posted it on the front page, and it could link you to the first webinar, the first class, which is going to be April 6th and 7th. So I hope you all log in. You know, you're the first ones to know about it. I'm literally discovering it here.
I've been so looking forward to this. Once in a great while, I have a little background knowledge that's happening, like what Evelyn's cooking up, and I knew this was hopefully coming. So I'm really excited you're announcing that today.
Thank you, love. Yeah. Who had been vetted by, look, Peter is saying that a guest thought that a superhost was someone who had been vetted by Airbnb especially. And you know, something that happened during that conversation was this guest thought that a superhost meant that the space was more expensive.
That is an important distinction. That is not the case.
Exactly. So one of the things I want to teach is to create a batch and actually explain what is a superhost.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you. Because what happens is when you click on the badge on the side, it just takes you to the superhost category, but it's not an explanation to the guest. We have to remember, guests don't know. We're so into our Airbnb world that we forget, like, we're like, oh, of course. And it's like, no, it's not of course for them. They just don't know. People, they don't know. So if anybody has any other questions, please let me just share Elle's screen one more time with her information. So if you want to talk to her, Elle has been my life coach for almost a year, I want to say. And
you didn't have to say that.
It's okay. I don't mind sharing it. It's been an amazing year with her and everything else. And it's just great to have that direction and somebody also that is a host and understands our pain and suffering of like guests walking in when I'm about to do a webinar or you know, they don't care. They're like, what do you mean? So, you know, I just want to say one more time, thank you to Elle for sharing your time and sharing this amazing presentation. I really love it.
Thank you. I just so enjoy you, Evelyn. I love all the content and the value you're churning out every single month. I'm always in amazement of that. As a nod to your fellowship, I want to mention that if anybody does want to talk further about life coaching, that kind of thing, you get 25% off with me because you're going to mention Evelyn and that we met through her. And I'm so excited to be part of the Spring Challenge. I'm definitely going to post a couple pictures. I definitely have some work to do. So thank you for that. And thank you to everybody for being here today, for carving out this hour with us, because it's just always a pleasure for me to spend it with Evelyn and with you guys too. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. Happy Easter to whoever celebrates it, or, you know, happy spring. Yay, warm weather is here. Yeah. Please be safe, be compassionate to yourself and your guest. But mostly, you know, that oxygen mask, my God, guys, you have no idea. I keep thinking about that statement. That's the one statement that has stayed with me continuously of like, take care of yourself first, take care of yourself. So thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.